Imagine a machine that weighs as much as a small house. Now imagine putting that machine on a truck. That's exactly what happens with the M1 Abrams, the main battle tank of the United States Army. Fully loaded, this armored giant weighs around 60 to 70 tons. That's more than twice the weight of a fully loaded semi-truck on a highway. Yet every day, the U.S. military moves these massive machines across long distances, not by rail, and often not by letting the tank drive itself. Instead, they load the entire tank onto an enormous military transporter and haul it down the road. Which raises a strange question. If the tank already has a powerful engine, tracks, and a top road speed of about 45 miles per hour, why not just drive it? Why build a gigantic truck system just to carry something that can already move on its own? The answer reveals a fascinating world of engineering, logistics, and military transport most people never see. At first glance, it seems obvious. If a tank like the M1 Abrams can already drive itself, why bother hauling it with a massive transport truck? The answer starts with something simple. Tank tracks were never designed for long highway trips. Tracks are built for rough ground, mud, sand, rocks, and battlefield terrain. The heavy steel links grip the ground and spread the vehicle's massive weight across a wide surface. That gives tanks incredible off-road mobility. But asphalt roads are a different story altogether. Driving a 70-ton tank across pavement quickly wears the track pads and suspension components. What might last for months in battlefield use could wear out far faster during long road marches. Then there's the damage to the road itself. Each track segment of an Abrams presses enormous forces onto the surface beneath it. Even though tanks spread their weight better than many vehicles, repeated movement over highways can crack asphalt and damage infrastructure. Fuel is another major problem. The Abrams uses a powerful gas turbine engine designed for acceleration and battlefield performance. But that power comes at a cost. The tank burns fuel extremely quickly, especially during long-distance driving. And finally, there's the issue of speed and efficiency. Even at its top road speed of around 45 miles per hour, moving tanks long distances under their own power would be slow, noisy, and mechanically stressful. So the military uses a different solution. Instead of driving tanks to their destination, they move the entire tank by truck. To solve the problem of moving extremely heavy vehicles across long distances, the U.S. Army uses a specialized transport platform called the Heavy Equipment Transport System, often shortened to HETS. The system was built for one specific mission: moving the heaviest armored vehicles in the American military. At the center of the system are two machines working together. First, the Oshkosh M1070, an enormous 8x8 military tractor unit designed to pull extreme loads. Behind it sits the M1000 Heavy Equipment Transporter, a massive trailer built specifically for tanks and armored vehicles. Together, they form one of the most powerful heavy-haul transport systems ever deployed by a military. The entire setup is designed around vehicles like the M1 Abrams. Instead of forcing tanks to drive hundreds of miles under their own power, crews simply load them onto the trailer and let the transporter handle the journey. This approach saves fuel, reduces wear on the tank, and allows armored units to move much faster between bases, training areas, or deployment points. But moving a 70-ton combat vehicle isn't just about having a strong truck. Every part of this system, the engine, the chassis, the drivetrain, and the trailer, has been engineered to deal with extreme weight, massive forces, and long military convoys. And it all starts with the truck itself. At the front of the heavy equipment transport system sits the machine that does the hard pulling, the Oshkosh M1070. This is not a normal military truck. It was built specifically to move the heaviest vehicles in the U.S. Army. The M1070 uses an 8x8 drivetrain, meaning that all four axles receive power from the engine. That gives the truck traction on loose terrain, mud, and steep slopes while pulling extremely heavy loads. Because when a tank is loaded behind it, this truck isn't just moving cargo, it's pulling tens of thousands of kilograms of armored steel. To handle that task, The truck uses a powerful diesel engine producing around 700 horsepower. That kind of power allows the transporter to slowly build momentum even when the trailer behind it weighs more than many buildings. But power alone isn't enough. The truck's chassis is heavily reinforced to deal with enormous towing forces. Another important feature is long-range endurance. Military convoys often travel hundreds of kilometers between bases or ports. To support that kind of distance, the M1070 carries very large fuel tanks, roughly 947 liters of diesel. That allows the transporter to move heavy equipment across long routes without constant refueling stops. But even this powerful machine cannot move a tank alone, because the real secret behind transporting a 70-ton armored vehicle is the trailer behind it. Behind the truck sits the true giant of the system, the M1000 Heavy Equipment Transporter Trailer. At first glance, it looks almost unreal. Long, low to the ground, and covered with rows of wheels stretching far behind the truck. And those wheels are not just for appearance. The M1000 trailer uses 40 wheels arranged across multiple axle lines. The reason is simple. When transporting something as heavy as the M1 Abrams, the weight has to be spread across a large surface area. By using dozens of wheels, engineers distribute the load more evenly. Each axle carries only a portion of the total weight, allowing the transporter to travel safely on highways and military roads. The trailer deck itself is about 10.5 meters long, providing enough space for large combat vehicles to sit securely during transport. The low deck design also lowers the overall center of gravity, reducing the risk of tipping when driving through curves or uneven terrain. In heavy-haul trucking, this type of design is sometimes called a lowboy trailer, but the M1000 operates on a much larger scale than most civilian transport systems. Everything about it, the axles, the suspension, the reinforced steel frame, is designed around one purpose: carrying the heaviest machines used by the US military. And before that journey can begin, crews must first get the tank onto the trailer, a process that requires precision, coordination, and careful control. Getting a 70-ton tank onto a trailer might sound simple, but in reality, it's a carefully controlled operation that requires trained crews and precise coordination. The process usually begins with positioning the transporter on stable ground. The M1000 Heavy Equipment Transporter is designed with hydraulic loading ramps at the rear. These ramps can be lowered to create a gradual incline from the ground up to the trailer. Once the ramps are in place, the tank crew prepares the vehicle. For vehicles like the M1 Abrams, the turret is typically rotated so the main gun points forward along the hull. This reduces the total length of the vehicle and keeps the center of mass balanced while driving onto the trailer. Then comes the slow part. The tank moves forward at very controlled speed, climbing the ramps and rolling onto the trailer deck. Ground crew members stand nearby, guiding the driver and ensuring that the tracks stay perfectly aligned with the loading path. Because even a small misalignment could shift tens of tons of weight in the wrong direction. Once the tank reaches the correct position, the crew stops the engine and begins the securing process. Heavy-duty steel chains and tensioning devices are attached to reinforced tie-down points on both the tank and the trailer. These chains are tightened to prevent any movement during transport, even when the convoy accelerates, brakes, or turns. Only after multiple safety checks is the transporter ready to move. Here's a question for you. If you were the driver of a 70-ton tank climbing up those ramps, would you feel confident or a little nervous about being just a few centimeters off? Because once the vehicle is secured and the convoy starts rolling, the transporter is now moving something truly massive. Once the tank is secured, the transporter begins moving one of the heaviest road combinations used by any military. The M1 Abrams alone weighs roughly 63,000 kilograms, depending on its configuration and armor package. Add the weight of the M1000 Heavy Equipment Transporter Trailer, which itself weighs more than 20 tons, and the numbers start climbing quickly. Then there's the truck. The Oshkosh M1070 tractor unit adds another massive chunk of steel, drivetrain components, and fuel. Put everything together, and the total moving weight of the system can exceed 100 tons. That places it firmly in the world of extreme heavy haul transport, a category usually associated with mining equipment, industrial machinery, and oversized construction vehicles. But moving that kind of mass on public roads requires careful engineering. Acceleration has to be very gradual to prevent massive stress on the trailer connections. Braking systems are designed to handle enormous momentum, often using multiple braking systems distributed across the truck and trailer axles. Even turning requires planning. When a vehicle combination this long and heavy moves through curves or highway exits, the driver has to carefully control speed and steering to keep the load stable. This is why military drivers operating these systems receive specialized training. They're not just driving a truck, they're driving a controlled vehicle capable of transporting more weight than many civilian bridges were originally designed to handle. And moving tanks like this is not just about engineering. It plays a crucial role in how modern armies move and operate. Moving a tank by transporter is not just about protecting the vehicle, it's about keeping an entire armored force mobile. Modern armies rely heavily on logistics, the systems that move fuel, equipment, ammunition, and the vehicles where they are needed. Without that support network, even the most powerful tank cannot operate effectively. This is where the heavy equipment transport system becomes critical. Instead of forcing armored vehicles like the M1 Abrams to drive hundreds of kilometers between bases, the transporter carries them directly to their destination. The tanks arrive with minimal mechanical wear, full combat capability, and ready to operate almost immediately. This allows armored units to relocate much faster. A tank column driving long distance can move slowly and require frequent maintenance stops. Transport trucks, on the other hand, can move vehicles efficiently along highways and major roads. But tanks are not the only vehicles these transporters carry. The same system can haul a wide range of military equipment, including heavy armored vehicles, self-propelled artillery systems, engineering vehicles used for bridge building and obstacle clearing, damaged combat vehicles that need recovery and repair. In many cases, transporters are used to evacuate vehicles from the battlefield. If an armored vehicle breaks down or is damaged, it can be loaded onto a transporter and removed from the area without exposing recovery crews for long periods. So while tanks often receive the attention, the vehicles moving them behind the scenes are just as important. Because modern warfare depends not only on firepower, but on the ability to move that firepower quickly across large distances. Moving tanks by truck is not just about convenience, it's about something military planners call strategic mobility, the ability to move heavy combat power quickly across large regions. Armored vehicles like the M1 Abrams are extremely capable on the battlefield. Their tracks allow them to cross mud, climb obstacles, and travel over terrain that most vehicles can't handle. But those same tracks are inefficient for long-distance travel. Driving a tank hundreds of kilometers wastes fuel, increases maintenance needs, and slowly wears down critical components such as suspension arms and track systems. That's why armies separate two types of movement. For short distances in combat zones, tanks move under their own power. They drive across terrain where their design gives them an advantage. But for long-distance relocation, transport systems like the Heavy Equipment Transport System take over. This allows armored units to move quickly between bases, training areas, ports, and deployment zones using existing road networks. In large-scale military operations, this flexibility can make a huge difference. Because the faster heavy equipment can move, the faster an army can concentrate its forces where they are needed. And that speed can shape the outcome of an entire campaign. So the next time you see a massive military truck hauling a tank down the highway, it might just look like another oversized transport, but it's not. What you're actually looking at is a key part of the system that keeps modern armored forces moving. The Oshkosh M1070 and the M1000 Heavy Equipment Transporter quietly move some of the heaviest vehicles on Earth, including the M1 Abrams, across hundreds of kilometers of road. Without these transporters, tanks would arrive worn down, low on fuel, and needing maintenance before they even reach the battlefield. Instead, they arrive ready to go. Because behind every tank you see in action, there's usually an entire logistics system that's brought it there. One last question for you. Before watching this video, did you realize that moving tanks often depends more on trucks than on the tanks themselves? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Let's keep sharing these stories. If you value videos like this, like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.